Her neighbor across the street had already dialed 911, double quotes, "Yeah, hi, there's a man here. He doesn't belong in this neighborhood. He's in a stolen car." The problem? That man was Deborah's son. And the car, it was his. Deborah's 27-year-old son, Marcus Langston, had just returned from Silicon Valley, where he'd been working as a senior software architect at a tech startup that just went public. He was home for one reason, to surprise his mom for her birthday. He didn't rent the Rolls Royce for attention. It was a gift to himself. Years of grinding, late nights, and code splitting had finally paid off. Marcus hadn't even taken 2 steps out of the car before Janice Aldridge, the self-appointed neighborhood watchdog, grabbed her phone like it was a weapon. She just saw a black man in a luxury car, Deborah would later say, and she assumed the worst. Janice didn't wait. She called the police within 90 seconds of Marcus's arrival. Her 911 call was short and filled with coded language. "There's someone walking around who doesn't live here. He's driving a Rolls Royce. Pretty suspicious. No, I didn't see him break in, but he's lingering. This is a very nice neighborhood." Meanwhile, Marcus was ringing the doorbell, smiling, holding a bouquet of flowers and a birthday card. Deborah answered with a scream and a hug. "Oh my God, Marcus!" They hadn't seen each other in 11 months. Deborah had cried when he missed Thanksgiving, and now he was here in person and with flowers. But the joy didn't last long. Exactly 4 minutes later, 2 squad cars rolled down Oakview Drive, lights on. Sirens, low but threatening, Marcus stepped outside, hands instinctively raised. Deborah followed him out, confused. "Can I help you, officers?" she asked. One officer stepped forward. "Ma'am, we received a report of a stolen vehicle and a possible burglary in progress." Deborah blinked. "Burglary? That's my son. He's here visiting me." The other officer looked at Marcus. "Sir, do you have ID? Registration for the vehicle?" Marcus calmly pulled out his wallet and the rental contract from the glove box. The officer examined the documents. "Huh, it all checks out." Deborah turned her gaze to Janice's house. She was peeking through her curtains again. Word traveled fast. Within the hour, the local Facebook group lit up. Rolls Royce guy was Deborah's son. I thought he was a rapper or something. Oh my God, Janice called the cops AGAIN. That's like the 3rd time this year. This is getting out of hand. Can't even have family over anymore? Janice tried to defend herself, posting "better safe than sorry." "I was just looking out for the neighborhood." But the comments weren't kind. Looking out, or just profiling, you should apologize publicly. This isn't the 1950s. By morning, the post had over 400 comments, and not a single one was on. Janice's side, Marcus hadn't planned to speak at the next HOA meeting, but he did. Wearing a suit, with calm composure, he stood before a circle of folding chairs and retirees. "I grew up here, right here on Oakview Drive. I graduated valedictorian from Millard. Hi, I have 2 degrees from MIT. I now help lead one of the top cybersecurity firms in the country. But none of that mattered when I pulled into this neighborhood. All that mattered to someone was the color of my skin and the car I drove." Silence. Even Brent, the HOA president, shifted uncomfortably in his chair. Marcus continued. "This wasn't a mistake. It was a pattern. And if my own mother hadn't stepped outside when she did, I might have ended up face down on your perfect little lawn." The HOA released a formal statement 2 days later. "We condemn all acts of racial profiling and unnecessary emergency calls. We are implementing new guidelines for neighborhood watch behavior and introducing anti-bias training for all HOA committee members." Janice, she resigned quietly the same week. Her house was up for sale within a month. And Deborah. She was proud and more than a little petty. She had a new sign put in her front. "Yard home of the Rolls Royce guy" in glittery gold letters. Just for fun. She also added a gnome with sunglasses holding a toy Rolls Royce. Marcus didn't let the incident end in silence. He published a blog post titled, "I visited my mom and got the cops called on me." Within 48 hours, it had 2 million views. It was shared by activists, celebrities, and even featured on Good Morning America. Deborah joined him for an interview. "This wasn't just about my son," she said. "This happens every day and most of the time. There's no one filming, no one listening." Soon after, Marcus partnered with a nonprofit focused on preventing 911 misuse and bias reporting. They launched a campaign called #CheckBeforeYouCall. 6 months later, Marcus visited again. Same house, same street, but this time, no Rolls Royce. He pulled up in a cherry red Tesla. Neighbors waved. Some brought out cupcakes, and when one kid pointed and whispered, "That's the guy from TV." Marcus laughed and shook his hand. Deborah hugged her son like it was the first time again. She leaned in and whispered, "Still got the rolls?" Marcus grinned. "Nah, upgraded to the Cybertruck," she smirked. Janice would have called in the military. Sometimes it's not the sirens that are loudest. It's the silence that follows injustice. But when the right person speaks up, that silence breaks, and the whole neighborhood has to listen. Because in some suburbs, you don't need to steal a car to be seen as a threat. All it takes is driving the wrong kind of right car.